No, O brother, God guide us to the right, that the letter Alif has a magic square related to the element of air. Its planet is Mars and its servant is Alamar, and it is a letter of great effectiveness, and if its numerical value is multiplied by itself, the obedience becomes visible, for it is the Alif is the limit of the units. And you must know that this noble letter has power over the disposition of the rest of the letters, because it is like the Father. It tries to understand. And as for its peculiar virtues, if you want to use it for love, you will write it in this way as we have explained in the Hour of Good Omen. And if you exchange the letters of the name of the person who is the object of the work, with the letters of the magic square, it becomes better and more powerful in the desired effects. And this is the magic square of the letter Alif, whose secret and virtue is known among the wise. If you want to use it for the works of disturbance, then do as we have already indicated, and you will achieve your goal, for God speaks the truth and He shows the way. Whoever writes the letter Dal 35 times, this being the numerical value of his letters, because if you write the letter Dal, within it is the letter Dal with 4, the letter Alif with 1, and Lam with 30, and together added up being in total 35. You should write its 4x4 magical square in a piece of white silk, writing around the square the letter Dal 35 times. And he writes it while the moon is in Cancer, free of Jupiter's influence, and puts it inside a seal at that time, and carries it in a state of ritual, fasting and inner purity. Whoever composes it in this way will obtain all his goals and whatever he needs from the kings and rulers. It will support him in every activity and enlarges his sustenance, and every woman who sees him will love him. God willing, may God be exalted. This is his figure. And to the one who writes his numerical square and carries it with him, God, exalted be he, protects him from the harmful enemies of whatever worlds they may be. And whoever writes it, erases it with water and gives it to drink to someone who suffers from a continuous fever, it would be very beneficial to them. He also calms the pain suffered by those who have been stung by a scorpion or a snake with its venom. And it is useful for all other things of this type. This is the image of the aforementioned square. If you write the holy Basmala as you will see below in the middle of a circle, and you write inside the circle and around it, Surah 48 verse 29, Muhammad is the messenger of God. Those who are with him are severe with the unbelievers until the end of the surah. Then you fumigate it with everything that has a good smell and at a time of good omen, and carry it with you, for you will become a beloved, respected and honored person by all, and no one will see you without loving you and desiring your friendship and your company. Even women will sympathize with you and seek intimate dealings with you. Fear God in secret and in public, for God, exalted be He, is who gives success. This is the image of the circle. This seal is beneficial for every disease that is in the body. You shall write it on a paper, then dissolve it in water, and drink from it. And if you write it on a clean vessel, erase it with a little good oil and smear it on whoever has any disease. For truly God, may He be exalted, will make it disappear from him, if He so wishes. Meditate and you will find the good way. It is to be composed in the exaltation of the sun or in that of Jupiter on a plate of gold, silver or copper, and it is to be engraved in a state of fasting, and it is to be perfumed at the moment of being engraved, at the moment of being carried and at the moment of being used, with aloe stick, benzoin, mastic, nad and saffron. Try to understand and you will prosper. God willing, exalted be He. He said, praise be to Him. And I said, ask forgiveness of your Lord, for He is most forgiving. He will send down upon you the heavens with abundant rains, and give you more wealth and children, and gardens and rivers. This verse serves to increase one's wealth, prosper in commerce, and obtain great benefits. Whoever writes it on a white silver ring and puts it on his finger will not be able to explain how God will facilitate his livelihood, this being one of the prodigious things that no one is able to describe for the many blessings and goods that it brings, with the help of God, exalted be he. This is the figure that you have to write. Try to understand and you will prosper. You must know, God help us to obey him and to understand the secrets of his names, that I have seen those who practice ecstatic raptures draw in their hands, in the last hours of the night, this magic square of 10 by 10, whose explanation follows. And praying to God, exalted be he, with him and with his holy and noble names, which are found at the beginning of the Iron Surah. Also, he who draws them on the aforesaid square and hangs them up, is heard and answered in his prayers if God, exalted be he, wills. And I have seen in the noble sanctuary of Jerusalem a woman with dishevelled hair, and in whose hand was a golden plate. In it was the said square, and she said, O Lord, O Lord, O Lord, O Lord, by this square and by the sacred names and sublime secrets therein, I invoke thee to provide me with my sustenance without difficulty or effort. Verily you are the one who does what he desires. Then there descended from heaven a table on which there was abundant gold and on which there was a decree, in which it was said, if you prayed to God to bring you before your family, he would bring you before them immediately, because you have invoked God with his name, the one with which if you pray you are answered, and if you ask you are granted. Such a square is profitable for all things. God speaks the truth and he guides the way. And this is the shape of the square alluded to. If this harmonious figure is written in a crystal vessel with rose water, musk, saffron and camphor, and drunk by whoever has a bodily or spiritual ailment, it makes it disappear, for it gives its bearer strength in body and spirit, and covers him with respect and solemnity in the eyes of those who look on. And when the horn is blown once, and the earth and the mountains are lifted up in the air and pulverized at once, on that day the event will take place. The sky will be torn and will have no consistency on that day, for this verse is written to shed blood in the place you want. Whoever wants that, trace the names on a sheet of lead when the moon is in Scorpio, and write beside it the name of him whom he wants to bleed and the name of his mother. The writing shall be done with Byzantine cinnabar, and then hide it all inside a ditch whose water runs towards the east, having deposited the writing inside a reed on which a red thread shall be hooked, being thus tied next to the ditch. Be careful not to let the reed go, for the person who is the object of it will die, and you will be responsible for it before God. And do not let more than 7 days elapse, for the person who is the object of it will die. When you want to undo it, take out what you wrote, erase it with water, and then write for the person who was the object of it the verse of the throne, the surah of worship, the 2 protective surahs and the Fatiha in a clean vessel, and give it to him to drink, for he will indeed be restored, God willing. Praise and exalted be he. And this is the way it is to be disposed of, as you can see. Try to understand, and you will prosper, God willing, exalted be he, for it is God who grants success. His saying, exalted be he, it may be that if he divorced them, his Lord would give him in return wives better than they. Muslim, believing, obedient, easily repentant, fervent worshippers and fasters, whether they had been married before or were virgins. This verse is to cause the repudiation of women. It shall be written on a dark-colored basin with ink and tar, and their names shall be written. Then you shall erase the writing with water from the drain, and pour it into the house in which they dwell. For verily they shall separate, and shall not remain together therein. And this is the figure which thou shalt write. As for his saying, "This is how thy Lord rebukes when he punishes a city that is unjust." It is true that his chastisement is painful and severe. Whenever this seal it is thrown into the house of a wicked, it is destroyed, by writing it on the bone of a beheaded owl, which has been hunted with weapons or animals of prey. This is the way it will be disposed of. Try to understand. His saying, "Exalted be," and we placed in the hearts of those who followed him compassion and mercy until the end of the verse, and we supported those who believed against their enemy, and they became victors. For these verses are for disputes, quarrels and arguments, to subdue the enemies and defeat the adversaries. Whoever wants that, let him write these verses on a parchment of gazelle skin with myrtle water on Friday, when the people disperse after the prayer. Perfume it with aloe and amber stick. Place the writing inside a little silver tube which you shall put on your head, and take to court whomever you wish of your enemies or address the judge of your choice. For you will win with the help of God. Praised and exalted be he. This is what you shall write. His saying, "Exalted be," that is because they have disbelieved after they have believed, and their hearts have been sealed, so that they do not understand. When you see them, you like the way they look, and if they speak, their words catch your attention. They are like timbers that hold nothing. They think that any cry is directed against them. They are the enemy. Take heed, and kill them, O God, how they lie. This verse is to knot tongues, to silence the enemy, and to render him speechless in litigation and dispute. It shall be written on an iron plate, Libra being the zodiacal ascendant, with Mars placed in it and in the first decan of Scorpio. And he will carry it with him whoever wants to litigate or appear before whomever he wishes, for he will truly silence the tongue of his rival and impose himself upon him. This is his figure. This is the image of the circle of the supreme name of God. If you want to dispose of the supreme name, make a circle like a solar disk, inside of which are the names, and fumigate it with aloe stick, amber and whatever resembles it. This is the invocation of the circle of the supreme name. Thou shalt say, "My God, I ask thee for as much as Jibril asks thee, peace be upon him, when he prostrates himself before your sublime throne, and by the right of your name Allah, that you place in my service your angels, the servants of your throne, and the attendants of your sovereignty, Kashfail, Dardiel, Samhiaril, Samiaril, Ruchiaril, Nuriaril, Samkiaril, Totaharil, Yobriaril, Dariaril, Samsamril, Totail, Homiaril, Tatiaril, Israfil, Azrael, Mikael, Komi, Kosri, Sophiaril, Archeoil, Tatbiel, Iniail. Respond with the noble angels and the benign spirits. Peace be upon them, close to God in oneness. By the right of the name of God, the one and only magnificent, the holy light which you made superior to the might, the strength, the majesty and greatness of all the names put together, I beseech you to place those noble angels at my service in such a way as to resolve my need, which is such and such a thing. You must know, O seeker, that for all works the imposition of fasting, purity, the fear of God, little speech and the renunciation of sinful acts are indispensable. Under these circumstances, if you write the seal of good and carry it with you, you will walk on water, for your feet will not sink, God permitting. Exalted be he. And the blessing of this noble and sublime seal lies in the fact that no one knows the way to read it in Arabic, except whom God wills. Exalted be he. Try to understand, for this seal has some magnificent virtues, and whoever invokes anything by means of it takes place by the grace of God. Exalted be he. If you want to use it for love and sympathy, draw the seal of good on a crystal cup with musk, saffron and rose water. Write the name of the person requested and the name of their mother, and after erasing it with water, if you are able to give the person to drink that water, they will never be able to separate from you. If you are not able to give the person to drink from it, sprinkle their clothes with the water, for that will also be effective, and they will not be able to separate from you even for an instant. If you want to make the cause of an illness leave the body, put the seal of good on the forehead of the affected person and recite the conjuration of the seal over the person, for they will really recover, if God wills it. May He be praised. If you want reconciliation between the woman and her husband, engrave the seal of good on a wedding candle and make 2 figures from it, putting their faces one in front of the other. You will put a little amber in the mouth of each image. You will recite the conjuration over them 21 times, and you will place the figures under their bed, for the 2 of them will really love each other and reconcile, taking place between them in perpetual love. If you want to gain respect among the people, trace the seal with musk, saffron, musk and rose water on paper. Then you will dissolve it with water and you will put it next to you in a bottle. And if you want to be received by an important person, take a little of that water and smear your face with it, because everyone who sees you will respect you. They will consider you an important person, and they will humble themselves before you. In this way you will obtain a good acceptance by all people. If you wish to deprive anyone of sleep, make a figure with hard wax. Then write the seal of evil on the handle and blade of a knife and stick it into the figure, which you will have sewn into the belt of some pants. Then hang the pants with 1 leg over and 1 leg under, for the person who is the object of this will not really sleep as long as the pants remain hanging. If you want to harm a person and have them be overwhelmed with affliction, worries, concerns and displeasures, make a wax figure and then write the name of the person and the name of their mother and write the seal of evil. Then take the wax figure and put it in a bottle with a little sulfur, some pepper and a little good oil, and you will mold it in the fire between 2 graves, because in truth worries, concerns, illnesses and sufferings will descend on the person who is the object of it. And if you want to use it for hatred, to displace someone from their place or to sow discord between 2 people, draw the seal of evil with musk, onion juice and dry myrrh on unbaked clay. You shall break up the lump of clay, dissolve it in water from the bath drain, pour it down the nostrils of a dead dog, and turn the dog from its right side to its left side, saying as you turn it over, I turn the heart of so and so, son of so and so, like the heart of this dog, by the right of these names. If you want to damage the sight of an enemy or an evil person, take hardened wax and make a figure in the shape of the person you are working on. In it you will draw the seal of evil together with the name of the person and the name of their mother, and you will put 2 thorns in the 2 eyes of the figure. You will put the image in a black pot and pour quicklime into the pot. Pour some water from the bath drain over it and hide the pot near a fire. This will sicken their sight until they can't see neither white nor black. Do not let more than 7 days pass, because the person subjected to it will go blind, and you will be responsible for it on the day of judgment. And by God, you will not carry out this work against anyone who is not deserving of it. When you want to undo it, take the figure out of the pot and pour the lime into the water, remove the 2 thorns from the eyes, and then destroy the image or throw it into the water. If you want to know the state of the sick or absent person, know the day on which the patient fell ill, add the numerical value of the letters of their name and that of their mother, add to it the number of days elapsed in the Arabian month and add to it a base of 20. Get the total result and keep subtracting it by 30 until you get 30 or less. Bet the resulting number and apply it as I will describe below in the 2 tables called the table of life and the table of death. Wherever the count falls, make a judgment as to death or life, for it will certainly be that, God willing, exalted be He. In the same way, if you want to know the status of the spouses, and whether they will correspond or separate, or whether one of them will die before the other, calculate the total number of the letters of the name of both of them. Add to both the number of the elapsed days of the Arabian month and add to them a base of 20. Subtract and apply the resulting number in the tablet of life and the tablet of death, and if both are in the tablet of life, they will be together and will not separate, and if in the tablet of death one of the two will either separate from the other or will die together with him. It is the same if you want to know the situation of the two friends or the two partners. And also if you want to solve any of your problems, do everything as we have said, after knowing the day on which the partnership took place. You will do the same if you want to know the situation of a sage on entering a territory. You will know the day he entered it. Compute the name of the sage, add to it the number of the days elapsed of the Arabian month, and the base of 20, as we said before. Take the result, apply it to the two tables, and take a verdict from it by that which results in respect of death or life. And if you want to know the situation of the pregnant woman and the newborn, and whether it will live or die in this birth, you will calculate the name of the woman, the name of her mother, and the name of the day you are in that month. You will add to it the base and the number of the elapsed days of the Arabian month as you learned. Subtract it, and if it falls on the tablet of life as an odd number, the woman will give birth to a girl. If it falls on the tablet of life as an even number, the woman will give birth to a boy. And if it falls on the tablet of death, the child will not live. In the same way the newborn, when it is born in that birth, add to it the base and the elapsed of the Arabian month as we have mentioned, subtract and apply it to the tables, for if he falls into the tablet of life, he interprets therein his life, and if he falls into the tablet of death, he interprets therein that he will not live. Act in the same way to know the victor and the vanquished, and for every complicated matter, God is wiser. This is the image of the two tablets. Meditate and you will find the right way, if God, exalted be He, wills it. When you want to remember all that you hear and never forget it, write these letters in a glass cup and drink them with clear water 3 days. For indeed you will see the miraculous in the sharpness of your understanding. And thou shalt recite when drinking them, but we gave understanding of it to Suleiman until the end of the verse. This is the form of the talisman. Know, O brother, that the following is a wonderful talisman and an extraordinary secret which the wise have preserved and concealed for fear lest it should fall into the hands of one who is ignorant, and thereby disgrace chaste and Muslim women. So, by God, O he in whose hands this book is found, use it only to do what is permitted, for on the day of resurrection you will be called to account for it. When you wish to use it, write the talisman on the palm of your right hand with silk of musk, saffron and rose water, and perfume it with some fragrance. It shall be written on Wednesday in the first hour, and recite over it the incantation whose beginning is, in the name of God, the most holy, the pure one. Then hide your hand inside your sleeve and open it in front of the face of whomever you wish so that he sees the writing. And then keep walking and do not turn back, for the person who is the object of it will follow you wherever you wish. This is the form of the talisman. When you want a person to love you, to have their love for you take root in their heart until death, and never to separate you, write these names on 7 white sheets of paper. Write beside it your name and your mother's name, and the name of the person who is the object of the work and the name of his mother. And you shall burn 1 sheet each day, starting on a Sunday. Thou shalt write it in Rayhani script with ink and some musk, for thou shalt truly see the miraculous in coming to love and affection. When you have an enemy or a bad neighbor and you want to keep him away from your side, Write this talisman on a piece of unfired ceramic or on a lead plate and bury it under the threshold of the door of whoever you want, because that person will really leave that place. And by God, you must not use it against anyone who is not worthy of it. Whoever is disturbed by diabolical suggestions in his soul, when performing the ritual ablutions or in his prayer, and wants them to disappear, let him write these names on a piece of paper and carry them with him, for he will really find himself safe from the whispering of the devil. This is what you will write as you can see. Try to understand that and you will prosper. God willing, exalted be He. This talisman is for protection, since its wearer will be in the custody of God, exalted be He. And it supposes a magnificent acceptance for those who go to see sovereigns, rulers and notables with it. Behind it is the six-fold seal, the seal of the noble Fatiha, which whoever carries it with him has divine aid and support, thus overcoming all who are hostile to him. And it is profitable for all things. The first verses of the Surah of Victory are for conquest and for defeating the enemies, for the fluidity of waters and the blessing of harvests. They are not constantly recited by anyone wretched without him acquiring might, nor by anyone weak without him acquiring strength, nor by anyone defeated without him rising victorious, nor by anyone in difficulty without God clearing the way for him. Exalted be He, from where he cannot perceive it. He who writes them on a clean parchment with saffron, rose water and musk and hangs it over his right arm acquires strength and respect before the people, and has victory over his enemies. Therefore it is appropriate for the generals of armies and for those who are in command of troops, and God, praised and exalted be He, knows best. Whoever writes them on a banner and carries them into battle, God, praised and exalted be He, provides him with strength and help for victory over the enemies. And he who writes them on a wooden cup, wipes it with water and washes his face with it, is well reputed, honored, loved, protected and guarded wherever he is, by the command of God, exalted be He, and God speaks the truth and He shows the way. These are names that were found written on the robe of our Lord Joseph, peace be upon him, when he went to see Aziz in Egypt. They serve to gain respect, acceptance and affection, and to go before kings, ministers and important people. Try to understand that. And the names are as follows. Try to understand and you will reach your goal, God willing. For God, praised and exalted be He, speaks the truth and shows the way. You should know that these names were found written on the staff of Moses, were stamped on the robe of Joseph, and engraved on the sword of Daniel. They were with Abraham, peace be upon him, when he was thrown into the fire, and they were with Jesus, peace be upon him, and he made them known to the apostles, the last of whom was Simon the apostle, and he invoked with them God, exalted be He, so that he cured with them all diseases and afflictions. Its bearer is respected by the beasts and by all creatures. He is protected from the wickedness of jinn and men. Tongues are knotted before him, and iron cannot harm him, so that even if he is in battle fighting among a multitude, no one can cause him any harm, and armies and enemies flee before him. Whoever has any affliction, such as a headache, ophthalmia, or any disease, let him write these names on a parchment of bird or gazelle skin, and wear them hanging. Thou shalt write the Fatiha, the surah of worship, and the two protective surahs in a crystal bowl with musk, saffron and rose water, for indeed God will cure him of whatever harms him. And he who writes them as we mentioned, wears them hanging and goes to see with them a ruler, a minister or some authority, and says within himself at the time of entering before him, My God, I ask you by the right of these names that you annul the tongue of so and so son of so and so. You will say, may the faces be deformed 3 times, and all faces shall humble themselves before the living one, the subsistent one, and there shall be lost whoever bears unrighteousness. Thou shalt spit thrice in the way that is most convenient to thee, and thou shalt enter before him, for thou shalt indeed be safe from his wickedness, and shalt solve all thy troubles. And the bearer of these names will be well looked upon by all people, and he will be respected by all who see him. And they have many more virtues, which we have summarized for fear of going on too long, and that they may fall into the hands of those who are not worthy of them and do not know their true value. These are the names,